The budget requests $26 million to reduce maternal mortality and eliminate race-based disparities in outcomes among, quote, birthing people. I've never heard the term before. Can you explain what it means?
Absolutely. There are certain people who do not have gender identities that apply to female or male. So we think our language needs to be more inclusive in how we deal with complex issues.
Hello, men, women, and birthing people, and welcome to This Week in Stupid for the 20th of June, 2021. How are you all doing? I hope you're having a great day. And I really love left-leaning ideology. I gotta say, my favorite all-time ever, because it's the only ideology that focuses on the things that matter the most. I mean, sure, things like paying off student debt, things like healthcare, they're not as important as the social issues. The social issues are pivotal. Like, for example, look at this flyer. No bigotry, hatred, or prejudice allowed at this station at any time. Respect trans people pronouns, or your pronouns will be was, were. Isn't this beautiful? So, congratulations for voting correctly. Congratulations for supporting the winning team. The team that has the biggest cock ever. Can you imagine any other ideology putting something like that? It's like, hey, do what we tell you or we'll make you disappear. Can you name me any ideology that has the biggest schlong in order to do something like this in public? No, you can't, which is why I fully support the left. I like the winning guys. I like the people that get the stuff done. I mean, like, look at this picture that has Kamala Harris in it. And the title of the picture is Diversity. And you get to see a sea of the most wealthy women in the world sitting at a table with a person of color acting as the servitor. Isn't this beautiful? Like, can you name me any other ideology that would do this and call it a win? Like, they would just sit at a table, all white people, and they would be like, hey, this is diversity. Name me the ideology. I dare you. Name me the other ideology. You can't. And this is why progressivism deserves the win. It deserves the W. Give me your counter-argument. Give me your counter-argument. Everyone else, every other ideology is weak. This is strength. This is being strong. And if you're not strong, you don't deserve to be at the top. It's a meritocracy at the end of the day. And you know who else is strong? China. China is my favorite country in the whole world. Because again, it's strong. I do not like weakness. I just am attracted to strength. And wherever I see strength, I gotta root for it. Because that's my winning team. And when it comes to China, you get to see this gentleman here making the case that the Chinese scientists should get the Nobel Prize in medicine because they found the coronavirus first. Checkmate. Did any other country find the virus first? No, China did. Therefore, it should get the Nobel Prize in medicine. I love it. I love it. Can you tell me another nation that has like a big dick, like a helicopter, and is able to just swing it around and no one gets to talk against them? You can't, can you? So that is why I love China. And I gotta say, I see only great things in the Chinese future. Because recently we had the G7 meeting, a meeting where the most powerful nations in the world gather. Now, they have decided to put a 15% tax on all multinational corporations, because multinational corporations are these evil entities that like to pick and choose which country they pay taxes to and which ones they don't. They have like a team of lawyers and they avoid the taxation. So no more. No more. Like G7 said, you know what? If you're a corporation, at least 15% tax. The only problem is that if you look at this picture, there is a very important person missing. I mean, sure, there's a lot of influential people, a lot of powerful people, but there is one person missing, and that is President Xi. You see, China is not part of G7, meaning that they did not agree to this 15% global tax. That China might get an exemption So they don't have to tax corporation 15%. So you have like all these corporations that do everything possible to avoid taxation. And the countries of G7 say we're going to tax you 15%, and China doesn't say that. Now, I'm no economist. I'm no big brain person. But I do reckon that this might bode well for China in the future. I do think that they might even have access to more of the manufacturing jobs there. They might even get a lot more companies in the future moving towards China. So if you're not on Team China by now, you should get on. Like, you should get on because it's the winning team. Now, looking at China's history, I understand that society needs to become really left-wing before we can get to that place. So, you need a cultural revolution. And again, like, this is why I'm a leftist. And this is why I support China. Like, I want to be a leftist, to turn my country into China, and then to be as powerful and strong as China. Now, if I haven't convinced you, okay, if you're a little bit on the sides, whether or not you should be team progressive, let me tell you one of the advantages. You see, the left-leaning ideology offers freedom. And what I mean by this is that if you're a progressive, you get a little bit more leeway than other people in society. Like, certain rules just do not apply to you, and you can get away with many things. For example, did you know that a CNN analyst has exposed himself on a Zoom call? He started spanking the salami, he started shaking hands with the president while live on a Zoom call. And let's look at the picture of the people he was with. Like, especially this lady, you know, she looks like a person that has seen so much. She's seen a lot in her life. I don't know if this picture was like before the Zoom call or after, but there we go. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up again, because a lot of you will point out, it's like, well, V, you know, this happened months ago. Like, why do you bring it up? Well, I'm bringing it up because recently he got rehired at CNN, and he even gave a very interesting interview, which we're going to have the pleasure of watching together. Now, I gotta warn you, this is from CNN, so parent discretion is advised.
Let's bring in CNN Chief Legal Analyst Jeffrey Toobin to talk about this and more. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello, Allison.
It's been a while.
It has been a while, indeed.
I feel like we should address what's happened in the months since we've seen you, since some of our viewers may not know what has happened. So I guess I'll recap. I'll do the honors.
Help yourself.
Okay. In October, you were on a Zoom call with your colleagues from the New Yorker magazine. Everyone took a break for several minutes, during which time you were caught masturbating on camera. You were subsequently fired from that job after 27 years of working there. And you, since then, have been on leave from CNN. Do I have all that right?
You got it all right, sad to say.
Okay, so let's start there.
Okay.
To quote Jay Leno, what the hell were you thinking?
Well, obviously, I wasn't thinking very well or very much, and it was something that was inexplicable to me. I think one point, I wouldn't exactly say in my defense, because nothing is really in my defense. I didn't think I was on the call. I didn't think other people could see me.
You thought that you had turned off your camera?
Correct. I thought that I had turned off the Zoom call. Now, that's not a defense. This was deeply moronic and indefensible, but I mean that is part of the story. And you know, I have spent the 7 subsequent months, miserable months in my life, I can certainly confess, trying to be a better person. I mean, in therapy, trying to do some public service, working in a food bank, which I certainly am going to continue to do, working on a new book about the Oklahoma City bombing, but I am trying to become the kind of person that people...
Now, isn't that progressive? Isn't that wonderful? An ideology that just gives people a second chance. Can you name me any other ideology where if this would have happened, you would have be given a second chance? Could you imagine, like, if a right-winger would have done... Would he be given a second chance? No, absolutely not. So if you're a progressive, you get to do certain things, and other people will forgive you for them. Now, another good reason to be on the left is that this is an ideology which is going everywhere. It's going places. For example, in the video gaming industry. Now, a lot of you might be shocked finding out that we had E3 last week. But yes, it's still happening. In fact, it happened. And I want to point out some of the interesting things that I've heard. Apparently, you don't really need to be a gamer in order to be hired by Ubisoft.
And yes, Amandine plays video games, but lots of people at Ubisoft play games. Many don't.
And that's just how Ubisoft likes it. Now, there's nothing wrong working at a gaming company and not playing video games, but I guarantee to you, everyone working at that company is a progressive. Because I've never heard about a right-winger working at Ubisoft. Please correct me if you know one, because I for sure don't. But even if you're not convinced by now, I'm going to show you the most progressive E3 presentation out there, which is by TakeTwo Interactive. These are the people that gave us the most politically incorrect game of the century called GTA. And look how they bent the knee to the world's most powerful ideology.
And, you know, here's the truth, guys. Sometimes the most difficult discussions, are the ones that you need to have the most. And with the gaming community already being such a diverse place, it's time for the creative space to reflect that. So here's TakeTwo with an important discussion on the necessity of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the corporate responsibility to honor those things.
Diversity and inclusion make us a better industry for today and, most importantly, for tomorrow. It allows us to make better entertainment experiences that are authentic, culturally relevant, and reflective of the audiences that enjoy them. Today, we have brought together a few of our important partners who will share their organization's mission and role in this endeavor, as well as their insights on how we as an industry can continue to take these important steps together for the future. We hope that you find their work as inspiring as we do. It is now my pleasure to turn things over to my colleague, Tony Lagans, Director of Diversity and Inclusion for 2K, who will be the moderator for today's discussion.
Thanks, Alan. It's my pleasure to be your moderator for today's session. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce my esteemed panelists today.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Now, that presentation didn't feature any games. And why should it feature games? Why should a gaming company at a gaming presentation show any games? Because once you realize that the only reason for human existence, the only purpose that you have on this planet, the only reason you are alive is to worship diversity, inclusion, and equity, you don't need to do any that the multi-billion-dollar corporation pledges itself for the die god, and then you worship by giving the corporation your money. You give the corporation your cash so that the corporation can do the work. And there is always more work to be done. And as such, you help improve society. You help make things better by giving corporations your cash. And as such, the product of the corporation becomes meaningless. It doesn't matter if it puts on good video games or bad. It doesn't matter if it has predatory business practices like loot boxes or if the game is completely bugged on day one. None of those things matter because at the end of the day, you're not just purchasing a game, you're making a political statement. You're supporting a gaming company which is going to fix racism. It's going to make the world a better place. So, if the company worships the die god, then it's a good company. Because remember, private companies can do anything they want. I've been told this countless times by left-leaning people on Twitter. People with roses, hammer and sickles, they advocate strongly for companies to do anything they want. And as such, it seems that companies want to work with big government in order to censor people. You see, big government can't censor people because there's a constitution. But there's no problem. You can launder the censorship through the big corporations, and the result is similar. But it's a private company, and it can do anything it wants. Now, I know that some of you are going to say, but what about the right-wingers? And truth be told, I don't really have respect for right-wingers because they are weak. Who respects weakness? The voters respect the strong. They do not respect weakness. And as an example, I can bring up Donald Trump, which is recently blogging from his little internet square. And he is congratulating Nigeria for banning Twitter because Twitter banned the Nigerian president. But he also unveils some interesting stuff. You see, Trump also didn't like the private company. He didn't like Facebook. But it turns out, according to Trump, that Zuckerberg kept calling him, coming to the White House for dinner, and telling him how great he was. So in other words, the reason that Trump didn't really do much against big tech was because Zuckerberg knew how to play the game. Zuckerberg was empowered by left-leaning ideology, which made him a strong human being and dominated the US president. He went there, brown nose, played the game correctly, and now tell me, who is on Facebook and who isn't? Is Zuckerberg banned from Facebook? Is he banned from the internet? No, he isn't. He's the private company. He can do whatever he wants. Meanwhile, Trump can't even have an Instagram account to post his nudes on. He can't even do what the CNN analyst did. Like, even if he wanted to, he wouldn't be allowed. Zoom would probably ban him. That's the reality. Like, I look at things objectively. I'm not a subjective person. I look at reality, like who is stronger, who is weak. And the answer is simple. Now, if you want to know something else, all right, like all you right-wingers out there, it's like, oh yes, right wing. Let's look at Britain, okay? Let's look at the conservatives, because you might say, well, you know, like the conservatives will stand up to the left.
We're building back better together, and building back greener, and building back fairer, and building back more equal, and how shall I, more, in a more gender-neutral and perhaps a more feminine way. How about that, apart from anything else? So those are some of the objectives that we have before us at Carbis Bay.
Build back more feminine. Does that mean build back with bigger boobs? Although I have to point out, I think Boris might be on his way out. I mean, that is so reactionary and bigoted of him to say feminine rather than to say birthing people. How can you become more progressive if you don't say birthing people? I really love that term. It brings us closer to sci-fi. Brings us closer to the time when we're going to conquer the stars. Because only in sci-fi movies did I hear the term birthing people. But I love the energy, right? I mean, you get to destroy, because in order to build back, it means that something was destroyed. So the people in power get to destroy an economy, and it's also them that get to build it back. And they don't care about the number of lives they affect. I mean, you know, things can be built back, but the resources can be moved from the middle class all the way to the rich. I mean, you can transfer the wealth from the poor to Jeff Bezos, and you're still building back. I mean, there still is the infrastructure. It's just like different owners, different people owning it. Now it seems that like fewer people are going to own things, especially in the United States. Like there's a housing bubble going up. Maybe I should make a video about that, with banks buying up houses from people that can't afford to pay the utilities, pay rent anymore. Right, but that's like building back. And it's left-leaning people that get to destroy economies so that it's also them that they can build back. In any other situation, if it wasn't left-leaning people, the people that destroy things are held accountable. But when it's the left that does it, they get voted again. And I gotta mention, you don't need to be a bright person in order to be voted. Like, you don't need to be charismatic, you don't need to be very intelligent, you don't need any of these things. I mean, just look at the United States and look at who won the elections.
What do you say to Vladimir Putin?
To answer the first question, I'm laughing too. They actually, well, look, I mean, he has made clear that,
So that's why I'm team left. You know, it empowers people. It gives them freedom. It makes them be held unaccountable. No other ideology gets to do that in 2021. Like, all you have to do is to join the correct side, join the right side of history, and all of these things can be granted to you. Now, my God, it's that time again, isn't it? It's the time when I need to talk about the COVID. I hate it. I really do. Every single episode, I need to talk about it. Like, I talk about COVID more than I talk about asking people for super chats. No, seriously, like, if you're feeling generous to give me a super chat, because things are getting more and more expensive, unfortunately. I realized that when I'm planning for my wedding. It's like, you look at the prices, and you're like the type of person that like looks at his poker cards and is like slowly waving the poker cards up to see the new number. But e-begging aside, vaccines, okay? Like those are important. And people are trying their best in order to convince others of getting them. And one of the best ways they realize they can do this is by song. So let's listen to a very awesome hit song which went viral on TikTok that I guarantee to you, like I guarantee 100%, if you haven't vaccinated yourself by now, after you hear this song, you're gonna go do it. So get those people who haven't done it by now to listen to this song, because at the end of it, like, they're going to schedule an appointment. Boom shakalaka. You know, like, why do I get the negative energy in chat? A lot of people say that this isn't live. No, this is live, okay? I can see the negativity in chat. I see, like, people being negative. Do you think this is bad? You know, like, do you think this is bad? Well, why isn't Kim Jong Un talking about it? Did you know that Kim Jong Un has acquired strong musical tastes? I mean, he says that K-pop is a vicious cancer and threatens anyone caught listen to it with 15 years in a labor camp. He's not doing this for the proud people that are shouting vaccinate. Okay, he's not doing that. Right? So at least, even if they would be bad according to your subjective views, they're not as bad as K-pop because they don't have a world dictator looking at them with a frowny face. Now, do they?
Global economy began to recover. Just as the American economy is recovering, it is in all of our interest to have the global economy begin to recover as well. And that won't happen unless we can get this pandemic under control worldwide. That's why, as I said in my address to the joint session of Congress in April, America will be the arsenal of vaccines in our fight against COVID-19. Just as America was the arsenal of democracy during World War II. Over the past 4 months, we've taken a number of steps toward this historic effort.
Oh, God. Do I go with A, with the fact that America didn't break democracy by peace during World War II? Or do I go with B, it didn't do a successful job as the people in Eastern Germany. In fact, as the people in my country. From Romania, yeah. America kind of failed. I mean, well, it didn't fail. It was partially successful. Okay. But let's finish up with some more lighthearted news. Well, lighthearted if you're not still in school. A 12-year-old boy creates anti-cheating system for online exams. Now, I'm glad I'm not that boy. You know, like if I was that boy, I would pray for the schools never to reopen, because like the moment he goes in the playground, oof, like I don't know what to say. I hope that his country has like strong anti-bullying legislation. I hope they find a way to give him like a witness protection program or something. It's like, oh my god, if I was in school and I would have invented such a system, big yikes, I would say. Like, big yikes. Finally, a news that's like, oh god, why? Apparently, a man was arrested for training his dog to throw doorbell. Like, you read this article and you're like, why? So like, someone rings his doorbell and he's like, fuck him, booba. Go fuck him. You know, it just... But in order for this man to be arrested, like, I assume a lot of people were dodging. Like, why was the dog on the balcony to begin with? Like, just, God, this is so wrong. I don't even know what to make of this. You know, like, usually I'm a very well-spoken person and I can talk for 10 minutes about any crap you give me. I don't know what to say about this. Like, this is just wrong on so many levels. I'll end with this because my brain is just dead. And by the way, like, who gets to take care of the dog if the man gets imprisoned? Like, how do you unlearn the dog to do that? You know, like, do you get like all the bricks away from the balcony and then like the dog gets frustrated because he's trained to do it and he can't find the equipment? God. Anyway, I hope you liked This Week is Stupid. If you do, and you want to help me out, you know, times are rough. Usually I don't teabag like this, but yeah, it's bad now. You can give me like $5 on Subscribestar. It's a big comment in the description. You know, even like small contributions, $1, $2 help. I'm desperate. Help. Joking. You know, no, like if you like the channel, please contribute. If you don't like the channel, don't contribute. But if you like it and you don't have money, you can thumb up the video and you can subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm, helps get the message across. And if you can send this to your friends, you know, if you can share it on social media, I would appreciate it. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll be looking forward to reading your feedback.